Hello, hello, hello. Mark Stephen Doss here, Marcus Doss, coming at you again from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And hey, we just have on the background playing there, this is Nobody Knows the Trouble I See. That was with me singing from the Cultural Center of Chicago, accompanied by Donna Brunsma, late Donna Brunsma, a fantastic pianist. And so we got some troubling times. I know you used to hearing me have the Langston Hughes in the background, I Dream a World. And some things are happening now that aren't necessarily in the good vein. Here in Canada, we're still keeping under the numbers. So, you know, Ontario's doing fairly well, better than Quebec and other provinces. And the U.S. Still moving up too much in, you know, Florida, California, trying to get those numbers down. And we're doing it. We're trying to do it, you know, as long as we can keep people keeping the mask on, keeping some social distance, and and making sure that everything is where it should be, because there's no reason not to do it. We're trying to save our lives. It's we are the world, basically, going back to that fantastic fundraiser for Africa. Now we're saving all the world, the entire world. We're trying to do this for. So yeah, here we are. And I'm going to get going right away with a couple of selections. We're trying to do for you a little bit of Messiah. We have Thus Saith the Lord, But Who May Abide, from the book of Haggai and Malachi. So these are fantastic scriptural words. Handel, it's one of the most famous oratorios, choral pieces of in the entire world. And it's his statement of faith, basically, and then it's become our statement of faith. And we praise that gathering together. It brings me to the IMF that I've done in Chicago, the International Music Foundation's Do-It-Yourself Messiah. I've done the soloist there for 10 different times, and I've always tried to do a lot of fundraising for them. Brings me to the Bel Canto, the Monasterios. We did once a fundraiser for the IMF, so nice to have those two things in conjunction, and give a couple other mentions as we go on. But then after we do the Messiah, we're going to go to a little piece from Das Rheingold. This is Wagner's Ring, Das Rheingold, the first of the Ring cycle. Basically, it's 1876 brought forth his first time before his death in 1883. So, the Rheingold is about the gold that the Rhine maidens are trying to protect, and they get stolen from them by Albrecht, the little dwarf there. He has to get in evil ways. It starts out, and then forges a ring that has the malice. It's sort of like the Lord of the Rings, basically. Similar story. So this is Wotan, so the chief of the gods. At the end of Das Rheingold, sort of having gotten the ring, tricked Albrecht to give him the ring, he finds himself having to give it back in order to get his daughter Freya back from them as a ransom of Fasold and Fafnir, sort of take over there, and then they have to take the ring as well. So it goes bad until that point at the end, which is the evening light, basically illuminates everything, and the Donner and Fro, they make this a rainbow bridge so that the gods can cross over into Valhalla. And so this is Wotan illuminating on this incredible structure, this Valhalla that has been built for them, and a little bit of a musing back where he's come from, the tragedies. But he moves forward in this section. At least this is the brightness, the shining, the glowing that is talked about at the end of Das Rheingold. So that's Wotan's depiction of that. And so we're going to get going now with a piece of it from Messiah. This is Handel's Messiah. Thus saith the Lord, but who may abide? Thus saith the Lord of hosts, yet once a little while, and I will shake the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land, and I will shake, and I will shake all nations. I'll shake the heavens, the earth, the sea, the dry land, all nations I'll shake, and the desire of all nations shall come. The Lord whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple. Even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in, behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts. abide the day of his coming. And who shall stand when he appeareth? And who shall stand when he appeareth? When he appeareth. For he is like a refiner's fire. For he is like a refiner's fire. Who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire. For he is like a refiner's fire. And who shall stand when he appeareth? But who may abide the day of his coming? And who shall stand? And who shall stand when he appeareth? When he is like a refiner's fire, like a refiner's fire. And who shall stand when he appeareth? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire. And who shall stand when he appeareth? When he appeareth, for he is like a refiner's fire. For he is like a Yes, and that's Thus saith the Lord, but who may abide, from Handel's Messiah. Fantastic piece, and I know that was one of those selections that I actually tried to sing for Margaret Hillis way back, the director, Chicago Symphony. And she said, she stopped me right away. She says, this was never sung by a bass in Handel's time, this version. I said, okay, well, and then I realized that a couple other times when, Handel allowed a lot of singers, because they were all prima donnas, that in order to do whatever they wanted to do, he didn't actually like that idea, that if somebody suggested, Maestro, I can sing this really well, may I be allowed to do it? He was not really obliged to say, nope, only propose it for one singer, that's it. So this was something that happened after the opening was added for castrato. So basically, there's the idea of Margaret Hillis giving me that instruction. But I did sing Messiah with her actually at the Columbus Symphony just after that. So, we didn't have a total falling out, and we enjoyed time together. She was a fantastic musician and great to work with. So now we move on. A little bit of Das Rheingold from a little bit of Das Rheingold, das Abendlich from Das Rheingold. Morgenscheine mutig erschimmet lag sie herrenlos. Ihr verlockend vor mir von Morgen bis Abend in mir uns Angst nicht won. Ich ward sie gewonnen. Es naht die Nacht vor ihrem Neid, bitte sie Berg und nun. So grüß ich die Burg, sichte vor Bang und Grauen. Folge mir, Frau, in Walhall wohne mit mir. Das nächtig Furcht mein Mut mir erfand, wenn siegendes lebt, leg es den Sinn der Wahl. Yes, and that's Abendlich from Das Rheingold, Wagner. So, yeah, really fantastic, exhilarating. We go from one to the other, and we try to get our fantastic combination of Handel to Wagner. So I give you the whole cycle there. Yeah, so I want to say hello to everybody who might be joining us a bit late. Here we are again, going to recap. We're going to recap these the lead stories here, lead pieces here that we've just done for you, which is the Handel's Messiah, Thus saith the Lord, but who may abide, and followed by the Das Rheingold's Abendlich, with Wotan proclaiming after Donner starts the thunder, he sees a mist in the sky, sort of gathers it together, and the thunder cracks, and all of a sudden you see the clouds then disperse. So you have to have a storm before, the clearing, and then you see the rainbow bridge in which the gods then move on to Valhalla, their wonderful residence, in the sky, basically. So that's our world. That's where we're going from. And then we're going to follow just in a few more minutes. We got Joshua fit the Battle of Jericho. That's a J. Rosamond Johnson sort of arrangement there, which is great. So let me get my thoughts here. Margaret Bonds. So Margaret Bonds, yes, give me that Joshua fit the Battle of Jericho, because I just did her piece last week of the he's got the whole world in his hand, basically. So it's a following on of Margaret Bonds. And then we're going to follow that with a wonderful You'll Never Walk Alone from Carousel. A fantastic inspirational piece. So, but for right now, we're going to want to give you some ideas about what's going on in the world. We got some thoughts on the mind, body, and the spirit, basically. We're giving you a lot of spirit, I hope. But in essence, what do we have? We have, again, I deal with the mind. I talk about Scott Peck and his 4 tools of discipline with which we can solve all problems. We talk about the delaying of gratification. We're talking about the acceptance of responsibility, the dedication to the truth, and balancing. Those which things that allow us, as Scott Peck says, one of his in that chapter beginning, he says, kings and presidents will neglect to use these tools of discipline to their downfall, to their detriment. So this is what we're still dealing with, and I connect that into Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Being proactive. So in many cases, obviously in the States, we've been not as proactive as has been necessary. New York State started out really high, and they did a lot of things that became very somewhat reactionary, but the proactive things sort of got put aside and kind of in a spiraling sort of thing here, but trying to get back to the right place, hopefully. If not, then we're going to another realm, which is we got Herman Miner's book, which is a spoof on 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is called the 7 Habits of Highly Ineffective People. And, he gets to one of the end of the chapters where he talks about sharpening the saw, the things that we need to do over and over again, because we're sheltering and social distancing now, and basically we have a chance to basically get all of our tools in a great shape so that when we go out, we can give all the best we have to the people that, really want to get that from us. So in this sense of sharpening the saw, in the 7 Habits of Highly Ineffective People, it's wonderful, it's interesting, it's amusing, not sort of wonderful at all that Mr. Miner IV there gives a quote from Barney Rubble, which is, it takes a smart man to know he's stupid. So that's one of the best quotes of that, because he talks about how you practice ineffectiveness over and over again until even add a little arrogance in there when you're trying to practice being ineffective. So this is what we don't want to do. This is that's his spoof. It's about trying to get the other things together in order to find a way out of this mess. Again, we got some higher numbers than we want to see. 16 million now, I guess, in the world as far as cases go, and going up for just 1 million over the last week, I guess. So it's moving up too fast. People have to remember to do the masks. People have to remember to keep the social distance, keep the, stay away from people that are sick, and wash the hands, basically. But, there's some other things which people don't always talk about. I talked with my naturopath not too long. I said, well, you gave me some guidelines when the things came out, but they've stayed the same. So where are we going from there? I sent my family out immediately the list of naturopathic things, not a naturopathic doctor, but I'm conferring with these people and saying, come on, guys, let's make sure we keep the right things going. You purify your system. People have the lemon juice in the morning, clean the system out. I've done the apple cider vinegar, clean the system out, or to purge things out of the system. I've done the silver, gets a nice antiviral, antibacterial type thing. Silver blocks a lot of the viral things going. We don't know how this COVID-19, they still don't have specific things of how it works, but one of those things you said, it can't hurt, right? You get the garlic going. People have talked about these things, the oil of oregano and whatnot, all the ginger, antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungals. So I was dealing with some fungus for a while, and certainly I fought through that. Had an incredible virus of flu virus in the UK last year before, and it almost killed me, filled my lungs with fluid, and I had to get through it. How did I get through it? Well, geez, guys, I don't know if everybody talks about it enough. Here's I got a salt inhaler here, Himalayan salt, and just keep breathing that through. Big breaths, so that's my physical thing for today, because these salt inhalers, the salt purifies the lungs, get that going. Chris Cuomo, right? Why is it Chris Cuomo, a journalist, has to talk about? He got COVID-19 and he had to purge it out of his system by breathing. He says the virus wants to shut you down and wants to keep you from breathing. It wants you to just say, okay, I'll just get over this. And it's like it's active. Get it out. If you get it, you got to get it out fast, because now that people are talking about latent, sort of symptoms and things that stay on, even those who avoid death, which is a fantastic thing. But again, as a singer, I'm going to grab this as soon as I feel a little ting in my throat, because I'm more sensitive to what could possibly happen. If something comes up, I think, 911, let's get it done, because you got to get out there and you got to perform, and you don't want to, cut people short, with your health. So now it's about saving our lives. So something like that's not a bad thing. Get in the practice of doing it. Get in the practice of doing it. Breathing every day. People talk about, we do the exercises. This pat down stuff is to get these lungs moving in the right way. So that opens everything up. That's what the healthcare workers are doing for their patients. Patting down the back, making sure you break up any congestion. So if you get it out fast, because you don't want the latent things, and certainly you don't want to have to succumb to it, because a lot of people have done that. So that's where we are on the body. And so anyway, let's give a shout out and see who we're talking to right now. I gave a little talk about the IMF earlier, and then we talked about the other organization that we're dealing with, the Bel Canto Foundation. I started out, went and studied with Carlo Bergonzi in Italy. So that was a big deal for me to do that, and I enjoyed the time there and getting one of their grand prize. So they've helped so many singers, so many singers throughout their careers and whatnot, starting them out, and I've done some things with them coming back. They did a wonderful fundraiser that I said for the IMF. So we had a good amount of money that we raised for the International Music Foundation's Do-It-Yourself Messiah. I started that out actually when I said I've done it 10 times. I started at Lyric Opera Chicago actually when I was singing there. So we had actually some performances, and then the week following you went and you stayed in the same building. You just filled the whole theater. The 3,000 seats basically in all different sections. Amazing experience with the Do-It-Yourself Messiah. Well, asked me to do it back this year, and I guess they're really talking about how it might happen. Unfortunately, a couple things have just shut down recently. I had a Opera Company of Philadelphia, Oedipus Rex is supposed to do there in January, and they had a situation where they could have a certain number of people that they could allow in the theater, but it went over as far as when they had the deciding who was going to be in the casting and the orchestra and whatnot in the whole group. So it didn't quite make the cut. So they're shifting it to the next year, which is good, and they've offered like a 25% advance on the fee. So that's important because we're trying to live, and the companies that are doing those kind of things are trying to reach out and keeping us healthy, keeping us in some way functioning during this difficult time. That's great to have. So, last thing I wanted to talk about I had an organ opera recital, opera and organ recital I did with Philip Kleckner. That was at the First Methodist downtown Chicago just in September. We did some wonderful things there, and we had programmed the Abendlich. We didn't get a chance to do that, so I'm happy to present that to Philip, and we'll be watching other people that attended that fantastic performance. I flew in from the UK actually. I was doing Rigoletto in the UK in rehearsals, and so I came into Chicago in order to do that concert with the members of the Chicago, Lyric Opera Chicago chorus. It helped out, so it was a great experience. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them. Anybody else? What do we have to talk about?
Yeah. So, guys, just a heads up: if you pop in online, would you like to change your shirt?
No, I'm okay. This is good. This is good swag. Getting all the healthy stuff out.
I will say I'm looking at him in person, and I'm looking at him on camera, and it does look worse on camera than it does
looks worse on camera.
Person.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. I mean, you're gonna sing a little. You're gonna sing a little Wagner in the morning. You think, okay, or morning and afternoon. You think, all right, I'm ready to go.
So if you guys pop on but you don't say anything, then the fact that you popped on is only there for a nanosecond. So that's why I try to respond quickly and say hello, because otherwise I don't really know you're there. So if you just say a quick hello or a wave or a quick little comment, then I know you're there. But Elaine Mack, of course, is here, and I believe she's doing some knitting while she's watching this. So
cool.
Making us a sweater.
All right, yeah, well, light sweater. Make sure it's not too heavy.
It's not going to be ready till winter.
All right, that's good. That's fine.
Yeah, and Roseanne, of course, and Sophia, of course, Sandy Reed. So there was you and Jonathan, speaking of people who aren't paying attention, you and Jonathan had a little correspondence back and forth about those your first two numbers.
Right.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit, what that was and kind of why?
Well, no, I got a wow back from Jonathan. So what a list, because I was talking about the lineup card. Where basically we're talking about baseball starting up. And here's the lineup card for the first two numbers here. Who's starting at bat? Batting the pitching. Now the left-hander's coming in, the right-hander. Who's the relief? So yeah, I gave it that sort of a context, basically in a sort of a baseball world where I guess Fauci just threw out the first ball, the first pitch there, the stands are empty, but empty with having little cardboard figures in there. So that's always nice. Always as if you have a crowd, even though it's not a crowd. So baseball's back. You can watch it on television and see what's going on there, and probably pay-per-view. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't pulled in yet.
Can you talk about why those first two numbers musically, Jonathan was like, oh wow, like how are you singing those two?
Well, you have different eras. Baroque. You're going to the Romantic period. And I didn't necessarily talk as much about the sense of Handel had over 40 operas that he composed, and they didn't go so well as far in vogue in London where he was. He started Germany. He was born in Germany. He did Hamburg. He went to Italy, and that's where he got his operatic sort of touches. And then he went on to London, and it was a big success initially. But then after a while, they sort of like, oh, okay, opera, we'll do something else. So they were just totally, into the oratorio things. And so when he got there, he thought, well, if they love this so much, then I'm just going to let the opera go. And unfortunately, that's the case. I've sung actually one of his operas, three of his operas. Rheingold, I did La Scala, Argante, the big sibilar aria, which I'll do sometime a little later in these sessions. And then I did with Chicago Lyric Opera Partenope, which is a fantastic opera of his. And it can be updated, or it works so well. His operas work so well with changes in scenery and whatnot, changes in place and time. So and then I did Julius Caesar. I actually did the role of Julius Caesar in Cleveland with Cleveland Opera. That was the title role because it was a production that came from New York City Opera. That was Norman Treigle had done that with Beverly Sills. So, the Cleveland Opera, David Bamber bought that production and brought it to Cleveland, and he says, okay, now we got to find the Caesar to do it. I sang White of the Nations from Messiah for him in audition and just sort of, nailed it. And he says, okay, fine, you can do Caesar. So that was very gratifying because, coming out for a curtain call and hearing, Hail Caesar! So I thought, okay, well, I've arrived, and that's a good thing. It's sort of your hometown. But, yeah, this is, the Argante, La Scala was a huge, Pizzi was the designer, and is amazing. We had a jazz conductor who was a jazz Baroque group, actually, jazz Baroque group there. So we had a fantastic time there. So that was and then you go to the Wagner on the other end. Interestingly enough, Wagner, because we're dealing with difficult times now, in the 1848, when he was just conceptualizing the Ring, trying to put all this stuff together, he was in the midst of this revolutionary mode. They were all in the revolutionary mode. Talking about Paris, Vienna, Berlin, Frankfurt, and Prague. All those five were just totally in a sense of, revolution was everywhere. So Wagner was talking about some things in the Ring. Obviously, he gets a little bit, it's pushing. It's pushing on one side to the other. So he was in a liberal mode, basically. And so he was there protesting. He was there fighting. And they were sending armed soldiers in. Armed soldiers to suppress these protesters, these protests for the time for revolution. This was, peaceful protest. I think that's going on someplace else. Doing this in Portland, we're worried about people going into cities and taking people off the streets for protesting peacefully. Obviously, when you're doing violent things, that's another subject. That's something that has to be dealt with another way. But local authorities think they can deal with that. And okay, so that was Wagner's thing. And one of his also was they have one person, one vote, each man, one vote. That was sort of the democratic thing that he was fighting for. And gave us a speech and promoting such things as the equality of the bourgeois and the common man, and ultimately they issued a warrant for his arrest, and then he had to escape into Switzerland, sort of in exile, before he could come back. And then the Ring, obviously, you have 25 years later, basically in 1876, to bring that out. So yeah, I mean the contrast is quite extreme though as far as style. And I think I love bridging the gap. Obviously it's hard to do within one session, but if it works, it works. It's always good. So those are the two things we're dealing with Wagner, and then now we're going on to the Margaret Bonds, basically Joshua fit the Battle of Jericho, and the walls of Jericho come tumbling down. This is very from the book of Joshua. 6, 1 to 21, I believe. So basically in that book he's talking about, going around the walls of Jericho, and the situations like I was just looking at. Okay, so God instructed Joshua, who followed all the instructions totally to a T. He says, okay, you're going to walk around the walls of Jericho once a day, one time around. Okay, now second day, okay, once around. And that's a peaceful marching, just marching around the walls, nothing, no arms and whatnot. They do that for 6 days, once around, once around, once around. 6 days. On the 7th day, they go around 7 times. 7 times on the 7th day, and then the trumpets start to blow. He tells the trumpeters to blow on cue, basically, and then the people shout as hard as they could, and bang, the walls come tumbling down. This is Jericho had some of the highest walls in that time, so they thought, this is no way this is going to happen. Nothing's going to bring down these walls. And the city comes down, and they go in, they take over the place. So the slaves took this on. This is a sense of the double meanings and whatnot. So especially with that big ascent at the end, and the walls come tumbling down. The slaves saw this as a way to freedom, possibly. Breaking down the walls of slavery. Getting past certain places where they had to get to. Going up north, they had to go, and so that's kind of the essence of the Joshua fit the Battle of Jericho. And then you have You'll Never Walk Alone from Carousel. This is the fantastic piece after World War II that we had Julie, the heroine there, and Billy, the guy who's, they're in love, and they have the relationship. But he's a caller there, and a carnival caller, and sort of a loose kind of living guy. And he comes up to the idea of getting some quick money. He does a robbery, and he gets caught, and then he kills himself in order not to be caught, and the shame of everything. And then from a distant place, obviously we get the heaven somehow. Another probably is the purgatory place if you're in the Catholic mode. That he says, well, what's going on earth? And they have a child because they had a child together. It was born afterwards, and then they had to find a way to give that child faith and hope, and to keep going because things aren't going so well. So that's so the character comes in and sings to Julie because she's a little downtrodden, and tells her that there's hope, there's faith, and Billy's kind of there because that's the idea when they have him come back to Earth in order to assist in some ways. And that was a great thing for soldiers coming back from soldiers who didn't return from World War II. You had fathers, you had sons, you had brothers, you had uncles and nephews, and that didn't come back. And so the idea that they could have a connection even though they were gone is obviously very important, very poignant for people at that time. It is still important for us to know that if we lose someone, they're still with us. So that's You'll Never Walk Alone. But right now we're going to try to queue up, and we can have a little talk here. The Joshua fit the Battle of Jericho, Margaret Bonds.
Say hi to people. Are you ready?
Yep, say hi to people.
Marcine's here.
Hey, Marcine, how are you?
Janos Schmanschut, and I presume the rest of the family's there. Hello, Miss Diane Wimmer-Yoder. And
Diane, hi Diane.
She's a Yoder, but she's a Wimmer-Yoder name.
Yeah.
And Ruth Ann, I think I said that. Don Martins, who's I believe up at the cottage. And thank you for the invite to the Martins.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Inviting on to see if we can get to a cottage would be great.
Go north.
Go north.
And Christine Ozenick, I hope your hair is pink.
The hair is pink?
I'm hoping Christine's hair is pink. We'll get the update after.
All right. Okay. Keep the spirits up, guys. Make sure you smile because it takes those. How many muscles to do that? I don't know. That was a study on that, but I think we just need to get used to that because you got to get through this. I had Charlie Chaplin's smile a while ago. I'll bring that back because I got to remember to keep smiling and keep the spirits up. It's not easy times, but we got to keep doing that. Keep laughing and keep smiling. So, we're talking about, here we go, with Joshua bringing down the walls of Jericho. Margaret Bonds. Joshua with the Battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua with the Battle of Jericho, and the walls come tumbling down that morning. Joshua with the Battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua with the Battle of Jericho, and the walls come tumbling down. You may talk about your king of Gideon, you may talk about your man of Saul. There's none like good old Joshua at the Battle of Jericho. Joshua in the Battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua in the Battle of Jericho, and the walls come tumbling down. Up to the walls of Jericho he marched with spear in hand. Go below them ram horns, Joshua cried, 'cause the battle is in my hands. Then the ram sheep horns begin to blow, trumpets begin to sound. Joshua commanded the children to shout, and the walls come tumbling down. That morning, Joshua in the Battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua in the Battle of Jericho, and the walls come tumbling down. Joshua, bringing those walls down. That's a powerful piece. I love that one. I can't remember the first time I sang it, but yeah, she's got some, Margaret Bonds did some fantastic compositions. And as I said, she's did that. He's got the whole world in his hand. And then she did a lot of collaboration with Langston Hughes and other pieces. We talked about the Brown King, talking about the one of the kings of the Orient that came to visit Christ. You know, there's a piece she's got on that, which is really great. So we have to present some of her other stuff, because she was a good composer, good arranger. So now we have again the You'll Never Walk Alone, and guys, take it to heart, because you got to know that there's a hand there, and as I just talked about, the Margaret Bonds, and then he's got the whole world in his hand. This is that sense of faith and hope that we have to keep. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. though your dreams be tossed and blown, walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Yes. Hey, everybody. Stay well, stay safe, and try to stay healthy. And smile as much as you can. It's important. God love you all, and in mind, body, and spirit, keep the faith. God bless you all. Thank you.
He's saying smile because I tell him to smile all the
I
time.
think so.
Bye, everybody. Have a good week. Thank you.